So today we are going to focus on the next level of this lightning journey. The next level means now till this point we very well understood that how actually till today you understood very well that is what is the lightning bundle. Then you also understood what is a lightning application and its usage you created also. And then second, lightning component and you created as well. Now we are going to see the importance of controllers. So how actually in controllers, with controllers we can perform various actions in lightning and why they are so much useful for us, that we are going to see. So first of all, I'm going to show you some activity where we will be taking the benefit of controller, and by depending on controller's response we are going to perform some kind of scenario. Okay, so ultimately you will understand why this controller is used and how we can take the benefit of controller. So first point, please note the way we have controller in classic, that is the only controller that we have, apex class. Here we have two controllers, and with these two controllers we can perform different business logic, and how actually that's going to happen here. Let us see. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write some code as a component, and then let's see how actually it's implemented. So first of all, go to Salesforce environment. Let me just go for that. So just 1 minute, let me go to Salesforce environment. I'm opening the Firefox, and go to login. Let it get loaded. So it's loading, and so it looks a bit slow today, the Salesforce server, but anyways, it may be temporary. And here we go, and go to Lightning Experience so that we can have the idea of the look and feel. Okay, now try to understand. Now what we'll do, first of all, we will try to implement this entire functionality, whatever we have done. So let me first of all create an application. So click on, let the page get loaded. and go to so click on this and let me open developer console. The servers are a bit slow today, and I think the that is the reason it's coming slowly. So which screen you are able to see now? Please check by selecting Shekhar, and please type and let me know if you can see the developer console. Okay. Please check if you are able to see the new application, new lightning application window, so I can understand if any kind of technical issue is there. Okay, fine. Just give 1 minute. Just give 1 minute. I'm going to another network. Just 1 minute. Okay, please check now. So I'm going to create now file, new, and lightning application. So now and training, as we are creating all the lightning applications in that same nim format, and then lightning app with controller and submit. Now this lightning application we are going to use only for calling purpose, of course. So what we need to do, we need to create one more component. So let me create one more component, new component, that is a lightning component, not Visual Force page component, and just keeping the same name, and you can just keep the same name, and at the end, instead of instead of this controller, after this here you can just add a name called as component. So it becomes easy for you to next time identify that which component is of which application. So keep the same habit. So when you have hundreds of components and applications in your lightning scenario, then it will be easy for you to track it. Otherwise, I have seen for many people it becomes difficult to even find out where is the application and where it's coming from, etc. So now what we are going to do, first of all, we are going to create a scenario, and in which we will be adding some components, and this information we are going to use, and we are going to work from the controller side. So what I'm going to do is, let me just create the component and paste it here. To save our time, the code is already created by me, so that can save our time, and here you can see. So the code is already created, and just to save our time, instead of typing, and the code will explain line by line, so nothing to worry. Okay, now pay attention. Here we are writing a component. In the component we are having one input text where we are expecting some name, and the placeholder is just nothing but the text information, or the information which will be given on that field. Okay, just a kind of tooltip kind of thing. And next, after this, you can see or id, that is nothing but the id which you have given to this input text. Okay, and now again here we have another input text which is nothing but the input field. Again, label is my name and id is my name. Next, and then we are creating a button and submit, and that's it. Okay, now what we'll do, first of all we'll make a small change. First of all, we'll make a small change in this, and then by making a small change, we will try to understand how we can implement this functionality. Okay, so the previous version of this code which we write is the is the non-controller one, where it is not going to perform anything from the controller side. It is going to do its activity by its own. Okay, so here on the press of any button, on the press of any button, we will be now writing how actually it's going to find out the value and how it's going to perform. See now here, so let's write a controller, and now we will set this value from the controller level. Okay, so see now here, so go for this controller, see this one. Okay, go for this controller, this one, second one, and now click on this. So let me show you how it looks. It's a plain JavaScript functionality. See, click on this controller, click on this. Okay, so now click on the controller. So controller is getting open. Now this controller has one by default function. The style of writing these functions or the JavaScript function is bit different. Maybe one time, maybe two time you will be a bit confused. Okay, how they are writing, how is the format, and etc. But it's okay. Every technology has its own way of writing. So you can see here also different way of writing. First of all, the function is starting from line number 2 and ending at line number 4. The collection of all the functions which is in the controller is starting with line number 1 and ending with 5. Now whether you write one function or whether you write 100 function, your wish. Next, here my action is nothing but the function name. So look at this, how interesting it is. Generally we write the function or anything want to write like something like we do like this, public, or let's say my, or let's say get some, then let's say a number a number b, then we write something like this, and here also return type, let's say integer, and if nothing, if let's say we want to declare something like this, public and all, something like this we write, right? And the name of the function is get some, or to make the same thing here, my action. So please note here I'm mentioning one important thing. In lightning JS controller, how we write the function, just understand this. And in classic controller, okay, so understand this. Now let me make some small modifications. So this function is going to return accept all these things, so accept all these things, okay. And just understand how we write the function, and leave that public and leave that integer and make it straightforward, okay. So let me just copy this, and then I'm going to paste it in your notes so that you guys can understand and take the benefit of this latter words. Okay, so let's proceed. So I'm going to now remove that classic function and this title. Okay, so now you're clear, and now this components nothing but now here parameters for JS controller. First of all, this component, okay, so it takes some information about the component which is calling the JS controller, okay. So here we'll have the information about that which is calling the JS controller. Second is event, by which event the controller got called, or in short, controller function is the better word, because we are ultimately calling the function. So by which event the controller function got called, we get information here. Anything related to helper, we are passing any information related helper we are passing, we can get here. By the way, this helper thing is we are going to see later words. This is nothing but the next element you can see. So if you are sending some kind of information about this helper, so that this function will call a specific helper or get the helper information, then you can pass it. By the way, in real-time project, we generally use this in a rare format, and we mostly use this component, and then maximum time this, then this, and then in a very rare cases we go for helper, okay. So like this we work. So look at this component, maximum time, event next, and helper next. Okay, so now what we'll do, we will write now some code in this controller. So cut these nodes and paste here. Okay, so now what we will do, the function which we have my action, we will replace the function, and here I will write just call this function. Okay, and this is the function name. Now just pay attention. Instead of call this call me, I'm writing call this function, and or let's say uh, my function name. Okay, so you can understand easily. Then writing a function. Now here if you see in the bracket, there is only one parameter, that is component. We don't need other parameters because by the way it's optional. And as I said you that your maximum requirements will be fulfilled by getting some information which component is calling this JS functionality. That is the reason mostly you will see components only, not all the parameters also. Because when you don't need, then no need to write also. Now what I'm going to do, pay attention. Now it is something important. Here, this is the process by which I am trying to get some hold of the component things. Now what is the meaning of that? I'm going to tell you. First of all, here whenever we declare any kind of component, at that time we can take the control of this component, or we can just get some information about that component, and then we can set the value of this, and also we can use for fetching the value of that. Okay, so now let me show you, just give 1 second. So let me show you what actually it's going to do. And first of all, let's call this controller component from the application, and ensure there is no typing mistake or there is no other error. So now you can see, because of whatever component we have created, it is giving us this kind of name. Let the output come. Okay, so this way we created now the markup. This is called as markup. We created the markup, and don't forget that the way we last time discussed, that whenever we are going to use any kind of lightning things, at that time the new feature that they given, extending the lightning functionality, so that we need to also check, because this way you don't need to worry about the lightning look and feel. Automatically the look and feel will come. Okay, so for this, let me just mention this. Always do this activity. See here in the lightning, at the tab, mention this without a miss. Okay, this will automatically give look and feel of lightning. That's it. You don't need to worry about any extra thing. So now let me come to this page and update preview. Look at this. So now look at this slightly. It's modified. So it's more coming closer to the lightning functionality. Okay, so now this is a markup, and this markup is going to this markup is going to get some kind of control or work on the controller functionality. But how actually it's going to do that, let me explain you by this code. So first of all, what we'll do now in this code, in this functionality, we will try to ensure that whatever components are here, let me just take them in one line. So you can see, let me take in one line. Okay, so this now all the elements we added, input text, button, line number 3, 4, 5, exactly same like classic. The format is same. The only thing is the namespace is something different that you need to understand. It's UI. So in Salesforce, Lightning, if you want to create some kind of buttons and all these things, it will be starting with UI. And whereas you saw in Visual Force page, it's straightforward. Everywhere you are going to use Apex, 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 Apex button, Apex command button, Apex, let's say output text, etc. Okay. So here we have like a two, three different things to remember, but that is okay. That is also again not a big thing because we can very easily perform this activity after two, three activities or working for two, three times. Next, now what we are going to do now here we are going to perform some change because now if you see we have just created the markup. This is giving us markup and output is giving output is available. We can have button, but now what we'll do, this name and all the information, we will try to ensure that we are binding it or we are connecting it with the controller function. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll try to set some kind of values of the controller function, and then we will see how we can take the benefit of that. So let me make now some modifications. So step number one, or the example number one is complete, by which you now know how to create the markup in the component. Second thing that we are going to see now, the additional version, is how actually we can take the benefit of this using controller. So copy this. So creating markup with some buttons and text, input text, and now let me be ready with the advanced controller. Okay, so now let me paste the code. Now see, I'm going to now modify the code like this. Now the next level, now dealing with the controller. See the change now. The second code, set of code. Line number one, node out. Line number three, again node out. It's a simple input text. Line number four, this ID is output button. And let's say here, the label we are giving is submit. And when you are going to press on this, then please note in Visual Force page, we had the option to decide what is action. Okay, so here exactly same thing we are going to do. We are going to mention what is press. Okay, so please note the way we had action in VF button to mention what will happen after press of the button, same in lightning experience with attribute press. Okay, apex command button example you can see and in your developer notes, and you can easily understand it's just nothing but replaced by press. Next, now I'm intentionally creating one output text field. It's just going to show output. I'm giving some specific ID, but there is no value because I want to show you how we can generate the value from the controller side. This code is going to now focus bringing the value from controller side. Okay, so how to perform this activity now we are going to see. So you can see there is no value and we are going to bring this from the controller side. So let's do this activity. The main thing is, now can someone tell me, if I want to define a controller, then what name of function I must have? By watching on the screen only, you can easily answer the question. If I want to use now controller, which function I should define? Yes, very good. Line number 4, look at this at the last statement. Very good. Line number 4, look at the end. Get input. So there must be one function called as get input, which I'm expecting to get values from. Always remember one more thing. Let me elaborate this more. So by writing this, let me elaborate. Remember this very important point. Okay, so this is also very important notes for you. Mostly people get confused, especially new people. They don't understand the meaning of C and the meaning of V. So it is very important. You are interested in something from U side, then write V dot. You are interested in something from C side, then write C dot. Simple. That's the component. And now, as we discuss, of course, now the need is to create a controller function which will be having the name, or which will be having the information which is specific towards the first name, and all these things we are going to set, and that's all we are going to uh, work in that way. Okay, so now what we are going to do, first of all, the controller will do what? It will now expect some kind of component information. It will accept some component information, then we can mention that component information in that, and apart from that, if it is expecting some kind of event or all, we can mention or we can skip it. Then what we will do, we will first of all, whatever values are entered by the user, we will try to get it, and we will try to just generate the information or generate the functionality according to that. So we are expecting some value to be entered by user, and then that same value we will be populating, and then we are going to show on the screen. Very important, and very interesting. See, for your beginner level understanding, that is very important. Okay, now please note, first of all, I'm going to run this functionality. So see here. So let me show you the output. Okay, so now what I want, if I'm entering some kind of value, the first name, last name, whatever, okay, I'm entering the value. So the expectations are, as soon as I'm going to press on the submit button, then this value should go to controller, and controller will take the value from component, and from controller we will be able to set the another value of the component. Okay, by this way you will be very confident and clear that how this component controller interaction happens, which is actually the core of any programming. When you don't contact controller or the business logic, and you just stay at your UI level, then you cannot perform anything in the project. Okay, so that is what actually we are trying to understand here. So let me show you by component way. So please note, now try to understand by line number which I am explaining. Line number 3, we are going to fetch the value. Okay, so customer will enter the value or user will enter the value. Once he is going to press on submit, then Salesforce will say, wait, there is a function now in controller that I need to execute. So the control will now go to the controller. Now please note, from this we will go to JavaScript controller only. Okay, there is one more controller which we are going to see laterwards as the next step. That is Apex class controller. But please note that Apex class controller we cannot connect from here. We need to first of all go through controller only. Okay, not no jumping. It's like kind of a step-by-step activity and more disciplined activity. Okay, so we'll first of all go for the JavaScript controller only, no Apex class directly. In the JavaScript controller, what I will do, I will first of all try to see what is the current value of entity number line number 3. Now if I want to check something related to entity line number 3, can you tell me by which way I can fetch the value? How can I identify that entity? Can someone tell me how can I identify entity which is line number 3? Very good. I can identify by ID. Very good. And what is the ID of the line number 3's entity? Very good. Name. Fantastic. So now in the controller I can call, okay, bring me some information of the entity where the ID equal to name. Okay, so please note that is the reason always you will find in the lightning component for every small thing we will be giving ID. So it becomes very easy for us to refer because we are not referring in the same page that is in the component. We are referring that in the controllers and other things. Okay, then placeholder is nothing but you saw already. If you are writing nothing, then before that it will come like a tooltip that we saw in the classic. Next, now second element will do what? So when the button is pressed, it will go to controller and it will do one thing, fetch the values entered in the line number 3 by using the ID equal to name. Now for that we have a specific function that is not important for you. Understanding the flow is important for you. A function or how to write the function or the sequence of function, even a school going kid can learn if you teach him 3-4 times. He will also remember and he will also tell you this is the function by which we can call the details. That is not important. You need to understand the logic or the process. That is important. So don't try to remember anything. Oh now it's like Aura ID I need to remember. Oh, UI dot input text I need to remember. Don't do this. This is like a very minor things. Just by 2-3 days you can very easily understand that. But the main thing is the process and uh, the the structure of the entire communication or life cycle happens in Lightning, and that is the reason people mostly ask this kind of questions, not the silly questions like tell me what is the tag name for creating a button or what is the tag name for creating component. They know that it's not important. Anyone can learn these kind of things. So don't try to divert your concentration by trying to memorize Aura ID or UI button or etc. So now here by using the ID we'll fetch the details and that information we will again try to put where with the one more entity where ID is name output. So we will get the name or information from ID called equals to name. Okay, and then this output we are going to put in the ID called as name output. Okay, now I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to make some small change to make it easy. So ID equal to entered name. Okay, and here here name to display. Fine, and this way I have made the change. Okay, now and button for action, and here I will change the information get info. Fine. Okay, so now these all changes, whatever we have done, we need to replicate here or we need to find out here. Okay, so now I'm going to proceed and try to perform the activity that is nothing but going to the JavaScript controller side, and I'm going to show you now how actually you can perform this activity very easily. So see here, this is the JavaScript controller. So let it get loaded. Okay, now please pay attention to line number. Line number 1, the function group or the entire component area started, closing at line number 7. Line number 2, our function is started, get info is function name. It's expecting only component, so give it component parameter, nothing else needed. Then we are declaring one variable. So please note, whenever and now the notes for this code you need to remember is note for this code. Please note, to declare anything in JavaScript, we use var. Okay, so let it be integer, string, or anything. We use only var. It's bit simple. It's no headache for us to remember. Okay, for integer we have integer, for string we have something else, or for double we have something else, for boolean we have something else. No, only simple thing var. That's it. No headache in JavaScript. Okay, remember this. So I'm declaring, and how it will then convert the value and all that will take care by JavaScript. We don't need to worry about this. So whether it's string value or boolean value or fractional value or whatever value, JavaScript will take care. You just create a variable with a name or with the type var and done. So here if you see, I'm writing two variables. Okay, so first of all full name, and the second, let's say output name. Okay, now pay attention. Understand line by line. Let's go for line number 3. We are creating a variable full name where we are saying that go to component. Please pay attention step by step. Don't read anything else. Once you clear lifetime, everything will be clear to you about this JavaScript functionality. So don't try to read by your own. Focus what I'm saying. Focus only on line number 3. We are declaring a variable with name full name. In that, what value we are adding? We are saying go to component. Which component? The component which called the current JavaScript. Go to this component. Go to this component and find where is an element with the name entered name or ID. Okay, where is the element where the ID is entered name? So you can see now we have some kind of entity where the ID which we have given is entered name. Okay, so this way we got a hold. This is like a handler. We got a hold of that particular entity, right? We said where is that entity? Here is that. Now then we said in that entity whatever value is present, give it to me. Now where is the value coming from? You know very well, the user entered the value, right? I just entered the value, my full name. So the function get means we are saying give me that value, but there is a context or sequence we need to follow. It's not like that you mention get and that's it, it's going to give you. We need to mention what you want. I want a value, and as you are talking about the value from the view side, then please note we must pass the parameter v dot value. Okay, so please note let me mention some notes also. Okay, so we need to mention this format v dot value. So Salesforce will give the value. Now where is the value? In the variable full name. So whatever I entered, that value now came in full name. Okay, now what I want to do, now this name, go to the component and look at line number 5. I want to set that name here, right? But how I can set? Again, I need to first get the hold of the third element, that is output text. And how can I get the hold? Again, ID. Without ID, you cannot do anything. So I'm saying at line number 4 that I'm declaring a variable output name. But what you want in the output name? So first of all, find in the component where is the entity called as name to display, where the ID is name to display. Okay, so one more note for you. Helps to get control of an element in component. Okay, so whatever element you want to get, you can get it. In fact, this is giving us the information and lots of things. So we need to initially find it and then do whatever you want to do. So I'm finding and it's giving me control of that. Okay, so that control I'm going to put in output name. Now please note very carefully, line number 3 variable is just saving the name value of that entered name, Shekhar. But line number 4 variable is actually holding the controller. Can you see? Because we are just finding that controller. Okay, so let me write here. We will write element here. So you can see I'm getting the hold of that element, output name element. So whatever element I'm going to use for output, I'm getting the hold of the entity. Can you see? For that also you're writing where. For name also you're writing where. So it's very simple and no headache for us to understand what are the different types of variables we can store. So now this line number 3 is going to take the control or a reference of the entity which we declared in the output, that is a component with the name to display. Okay, now that's it. Now everything is in your control. Now you can just set the value by using, let me mention this also, this giving reference of the uh, component element which is mentioned below. Okay, these notes I'm preparing in such a way that in future while doing practice or preparing for an interview, you will not be able to find any difficulty in understanding. Okay, so this is related to that. And line number 5 here, this helps us to set value of the element which is referred by variable output name element. So whatever reference we are getting in this variable, okay, we are getting here, and the value we are setting is full name. So whatever value we have in the full name variable, that we are setting. So you can see now, for getting something like this, for setting something also like this, so don't forget that v dot value. Okay, let me mention that also. V dot value, this is a parameter we need to pass while doing set or get. Okay, it's very important, you cannot skip this. Okay, so note this also. Fine, so now this way I'm going to set the value which is present in my variable full name, and as I'm setting the value, v dot value is necessary. Now let me show you the output. Okay, so see here, So let me first of all save all. Okay, now there is slight error. Let's try to identify this. Okay, now see, it will be good for you to understand that this kind of errors comes because of some kind of additional lines which you mentioned. So these are all notes. It's saying I'm not able to understand what is this. So we need to cut all the notes because it's saying I don't understand what this note all about. It's not a code, so remove this and mention here. Okay, so let me now save. In fact, save all. So component and controller and application, everything will be saved in one shot. Okay, it's saved. Now you go for application, update preview. And by the way, be ready for the assignment as well. I'm going to give you now the live assignment. So let me first of all load the page. Okay, now let me enter the details. Okay, so I'm entering my detail, first name, comma, last name. Okay, then we are going to press on submit button and just look at this. That's it. It's working. So now you have successfully understood how to make the communication from the from the component to JavaScript controller and fetch the value from JavaScript controller to the component. Set the value, get the value, fetch the value, everything you understood. Okay, now